everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I thought that we could do a recap of all of the planners that I used in 2021, what worked and what didn't and why. So yeah, if that sounds good to you, I hope you stick around. Before we get started, I'd love if you take a second to like and subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated, and let's just hop right into it. Okay, so at the beginning of 2021, I had started with a Hobonichi week. So this one, the one that you guys saw me plan out my entire year and plan with me, is on my channel. So this was my everyday carry. My entire life was in here, calendar, weeklies, all of that stuff. So I started off with the Hobonichi weeks. And then I was also using a A6 rings binder. Not this exact binder. I think I started off the year in my Gillio A6 Campania. I've since sold all of my A6 binders, but anyway, it was an A6 rings planner and I was using the two of them together. So within this system, my A6 rings was used specifically for school. So I had a school monthly calendar, a school weekly calendar, and I had a couple daily pages that I would use specifically on days where I was doing a ton of schoolwork. And then I also used the back half of the planner as a reference notebook. So I was doing like home projects, finances I did back there, measurements, health and wellness, fitness tracking, all of the stuff that I didn't necessarily need with me on the go in my everyday carry. So that was the system that I had started off the year in. I quickly learned I don't like having two weekly spreads. So I don't like having a personal weekly spread and then a school weekly spread, because my life is so intertwined with my school. It's not like I clock into an 8 to 4 job. I focus my time and like mental space completely to this occupation, and then I leave and I go home and I do work and I go home and live my life. As a student, you're working like whenever you want to work, you set a lot of your own schedule, but your entire life is dictated around school. It's not this regimented schedule like an occupation might be. So I learned quickly after trying that I don't mind having a separate monthly spread for school and work, just because there's so many due dates. It really bogs down my personal monthly spread. But for weeklies, I do need a separate weekly. So that was one thing that I learned this year through how I start my first like original lineup, how I started planning in 2021. So in February, I still had my A6, but I had taken all the school stuff out. That wasn't in there anymore. It was just the reference stuff that was sitting in this binder. And then I realized I kind of wanted a daily. And I didn't want daily on rings. I wanted like a notebook, a bound book. Since I used the regular Hobonichi weeks, there's not enough pages in the Hobonichi weeks to do dailies back here. There's only like 71 note pages, so you run out quite quickly. So that was when I started using my A6 Stalogy. So I used the A6 Stalogy specifically for daily pages, and I loved it, and it really worked. And this kind of lingered throughout the year as an option for me. So this is like what an ideal spread would look like. I would do a time daily over here, top priorities, to-dos, and a little bit of deco if I had some room at the bottom. This was what I was doing in this notebook as my daily pages. So at that point, we're at 3 planners, right? So this had stuck around by February, but no more school planning, just reference home binder. I had my everyday carry, and then I had my Stalogy, which sat on my desk and I used as daily pages on when needed. I wasn't like, this wasn't an everyday thing. I used it on specifically busy days or days where I just wanted to keep track of what was going on. Okay. Then in April, school ended, and I switched to pocket rings for fun. Like, this Pocket Miyakara is my fun planner. I love having it in my collection. It's so cute. Okay, it's really small. You only get 16 millimeter rings. This is the setup I had back in April. And I used this for a little while as my everyday carry. So I was still playing around with this and back planning the weeks because school ended. I had so much time on my hands, and planning is my hobby. But this is what I was carrying around with me. This was when I also started my YouTube channel. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I was doing plan with me's in pocket rings. I think the first video I ever uploaded was a flip of this pocket ring setup. And I used that for a little bit. And then at the beginning of the summer, I went full in on A6 rings. So I put my monthly, weekly, like all my personal monthly and weekly day-to-day planning went back into here, and I have the reference stuff at the back, and this was like an all-in-one planner. I did still have the Stalogy hanging around, like it was sitting on my desk, but because I wasn't in school, I didn't have a ton going on. I never really felt the need for a daily page, but it's still, the theme of the Stalogy in 2021 for me was that it was like kicking it, okay? It just hung around. I reached for it if I was particularly busy, but it wasn't an integral part of my planner system. Sometimes half a month would go by and I hadn't even touched it. It was really just when I felt overwhelmed and needed a daily page, this is where it happened. But yeah, throughout the summer, I was in A6 rings and I really enjoyed it. I was up at my parents' house all summer working full time. So having both my planning stuff and my reference stuff, and I just had to take this, was helpful. That was the one thing for me that I struggled with the Hobonichi weeks last year, is the reference stuff. I didn't have any of the reference stuff in these back pages. So things that I wanted to update, like when I did a workout, I always wanted to update it. But because it wasn't, those types of trackers weren't in the back of my weeks, this wasn't an all-in-one planner for me. So I'd always felt the need to have a secondary planner that had the reference stuff, the bigger picture stuff. So yeah. And then August hit, I went on my trip, and specifically in preparation for my trip, I brought out my Hobonichi weeks again, because I was like, okay, I'll take my Giglio Slim Punto, my Hobonichi weeks cover, and I'll be able to use that as my wallet planner combo while I'm on my trip, because I'll be carrying a lot more cash than normal because I had to change currencies. Like it was a whole thing. I was like, this is going to be perfect. Once I switched back into here, I stayed here. I couldn't leave it again. I wanted nothing to do with A6 rings. I wanted nothing to do with any rings, and I sold all of my rings planners and was just using the Hobonichi weeks. All of the reference stuff that I was talking about, like the finance planning and the fitness, health and wellness stuff, I had just stopped tracking it. I completely dropped all of my rings planners. I barely touched my Stalogy anymore, and I moved just into here. And it was so simple. It was so easy and so convenient to have my entire life in this one book. All of my other planners were stashed away in my closet back there, and I was just using this, and I fell in love. I fell like head over heels because it was so nice to have everything in one book. So you guys know that when I set up my 2022 Hobonichi weeks, I put all of that reference stuff in my back notes pages. And I'm so excited because I have made the new one an all-in-one planner, and it was based off of the love for this that I had in the last quarter of 2021. I even included journaling in my Hobonichi weeks. So I had one of these little Hobonichi supplemental notebooks in the week size, and I was journaling back here. So by the end of 2021, I had my monthly and weekly spreads. I started doing daily pages on the back page because I realized, hey, there's only 72 notes pages, but I don't do a daily every day. And because I hadn't set up the notes pages in this book to be reference pages, I had a bunch of empty blank pages back there. So I just started using them as dailies. So by the end of 2021, I was completely in this one book for planning. It was the only planner I was currently using. It was the only planner I wanted to use. And I sold all of my A6 covers. So, and then looking at where we are now in January of 2022, I am in a Hobonichi week still as my all-in-one planner, and I absolutely love it. And I don't even want to do anything else. Like I look at pretty spreads on Instagram, and I look at Bring Bound planners, and I'm like, that's so pretty. But then I'm like, should I set one up? No. The answer is always no. So looking back on my planner journey throughout 2021, it was an incredibly transformational year for me in terms of really figuring out what I like and what's my style. I realized, and I kind of talked about this in my 2021 favorites videos, that I don't know if ring planners are for me. There's something about ring planners and the fact that I can't store them in a way that I like, in a way that I revisit them again, that makes me not want to use my special stickers, my favorite things, because once I stick it on a page in a ring bound planner, it will eventually end up in the garbage. I may hang on to it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but I'll never flip through it again. I'm not about to sit there and flip through loose leaf pieces of paper. But in my bound books, I flip through the old ones all the time. I love seeing them. And I use my favorite stickers and create some of my most creative and loved spreads have been in this little book because I can use the stickers, appreciate the stickers, enjoy them, but they're never going to end up in the garbage. I will keep this forever. It will sit on my shelf and be an archive of the year of 2021. Whereas the same cannot be said for A6. Sorry, the same cannot be said for ring planners in general. So for me, realizing my real preferences, you know, I may like this aesthetically. I enjoy the way it looks. I like using it. I love using rings. I love the way that you can customize it, the dashboards, the vellums. I love the way it looks. But on a functional long-term basis, it's not for me. And I realized that this year. It uniquely shaped the way in which I approach planning in planners for me. And I learned a lot. And I sold all my A6 rings. I've kept this one, and I don't think I'll sell this one because sometimes I like to play. Like I know that when in April, back in April 2021, when I switched into my pocket rings, it was pure fun. I wasn't even in it for that long. I just had fun, you know? And that's okay. Like, I don't mind doing that. So I've kept this pocket rings and this A6 rings. And I have a couple of other little binders laying around, but all of the Gillio rings are gone. My VDS Velvet Sand, I sold that. Just because I can keep a couple things for fun, but I don't need to keep like an immense excess of things on the potential that I may have fun with it in a couple years. I'd rather it go to someone who will love it and keep my absolute favorites, which is what I've done. So yeah, that was my 2021 planner journey. I feel like I was switching it up a lot, but I still stayed in the core sizes. You know, I stayed in either Hobonichi Weeks, A6 rings, A6ology, or pocket. So even though I seemed to be like constantly flipping the way in which I was using those things, the sizes stayed consistent, which for me is a big thing. If you want to have fun in planners, if you want to hop between all the planners, go for it. But my biggest tip to you is stick to a couple sizes because it can get really expensive. So for me, my core ring sizes are pocket and A6. I don't really do anything larger than that. I have pocket, A6, and I've dabbled in personal in the past. And when I want to have fun, I'll bounce between those three. But I don't tend to go from like A5 to pocket plus to personal wide, B6 rings. It's too expensive. If you want to have fun with planners, which you have all right to do so, if you want to switch in and out, I'd say find a couple sizes that you know you really enjoy and buy all your stuff within those couple of sizes, because other than that, it can be incredibly expensive. But yeah, I'm really happy, you know. I just feel like I learned a lot last year, and it was really valuable. And that information that I learned about myself and like listening to my true planner preferences is going to be information I take with me into the years forward. I took it with me currently into 2021, and I think it'll follow me throughout the rest of my planner journey. So yeah, thank you guys for sitting with me and chit-chatting. I had a lot of fun reflecting on the different things I used throughout 2021, why it worked, why it didn't, and where I'm at now. And yeah, I would love to hear down below, like, what are the main things you learned last year about your preferences in planners, and what was like the main couple of different things you used last year. I always think it's so interesting. But yeah, let me know down below. I'd love to chat with you guys, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Before you head out, please take a second to like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.